Welcome to Ripples of Repair, the Buddhist practice of making amends for individual and systemic harm. From the Yellow Leaf. In our journey through life, we inevitably cause harm to others. The Buddha taught that acknowledging this harm and working to heal these wounds is essential to liberation from suffering, both for ourselves and those we've hurt. Making amends isn't about self-punishment or shame. Rather, it's a compassionate practice that honors the interconnectedness of all beings. When we harm others, we create disharmony that ripples outward, affecting our relationships and inner peace. Amends offers a way to restore this harmony with wisdom and compassion. Our actions create karma, the natural consequences that follow from what we do, say, and think. The first noble truth acknowledges that suffering exists, while the second noble truth recognizes that suffering has causes. Sometimes the causes are our own actions stemming from ignorance, attachment, or aversion. The Eightfold Path gives us guidance. Right speech teaches us to speak truthfully and kindly. Right action encourages non-harming. Right livelihood reminds us that our work should benefit others. When we stray from these principles, we can cause harm. Making amends helps us realign with the path. By acknowledging the harm we cause, we recognize the dignity and worth of those we've harmed. We acknowledge their pain as real and deserving of our attention. This is the practice of karuna, compassion in action. Buddhist wisdom on interdependence, praditya-samutpada, teaches us that nothing exists in isolation. Beyond individual actions, we participate in collective systems and institutions that may cause suffering to others. As Thich Nhat Hanh observed, we are here to awaken from the illusion of our separateness. When we recognize our participation in systems that privilege some while harming others, we begin to see that personal and social transformation are inseparable. Making amends requires that we start with recognition and acknowledgement. We must see clearly the harm we've caused without minimizing or justifying it. This requires honest self-reflection, sitting with discomfort rather than turning away. Cultivate genuine regret without self-judgment. Regret acknowledges wrongdoing with a gentle heart, whereas shame condemns the self. The Buddha recognized that harmful actions arise from causes and conditions. This understanding allows us to feel sincere regret without harsh self-judgment. Take direct action. When appropriate, we approach those we've harmed with humility and openness. We listen without defensiveness to how our actions affected them. We offer a sincere apology that acknowledges specific harms without expectations of forgiveness. Buddhist teacher Bhikkhu Bodhi reminds us that true compassion is not just an emotion but a commitment to action. Real amends require we move beyond feeling sorry to doing what is necessary to heal the harm. Create a plan to prevent repeated harm by identifying your triggers and patterns and establishing new practices for difficult moments. Cultivate mindfulness practices that help us pause before acting unskillfully. Offer specific forms of restitution when appropriate. Support the well-being of those you've harmed through acts of service that honor their needs and boundaries. As Buddhist teacher Angel Kyoto Williams reminds us, without inner change, there can be no outer change. Without collective change, no change matters. Through practical actions, we can strive to address harms perpetuated through our social systems, for example, redirecting resources to communities that have experienced historical harm, avoiding consumption habits that support exploitative systems, engaging in community organizing or political advocacy that addresses structural causes of suffering, creating spaces for truth-telling and healing in our workplaces, spiritual communities, and neighborhoods, building relationships across differences with a commitment to mutual transformation. Let's take a minute now to reflect together. Bring gentle awareness to your heart center as you ask yourself, may I recognize with clarity and compassion those I have harmed through my actions or words? May I find skillful ways to make amends that honor both my healing and theirs. Consider now the wider circles of connection and ask, may I see how my actions or inactions contribute to collective patterns of harm, and may I mindfully take responsibility for my part in healing them. As we conclude, know that the path of making amends unfolds gradually. Each step taken with sincerity and compassion creates ripples of healing, both personal and collective. May your efforts contribute to a world with less suffering and greater understanding. If this practice spoke to you, I invite you to continue this healing journey with the next video in this series. Ripples of Repair. The Buddhist practice of forgiveness as a form of compassion. From the Yellow Leaf.